when Jesus died, his friends wrapped him in linen cloths and buried him in a tomb. For 3 days, everyone believed it was over. Jesus was dead, and all their hopes and dreams were dead as well. On the 3rd day, the women came to the tomb and saw the stone was rolled away, and they wondered, where could Jesus' body be? 2 of them ran home to tell the others, but Mary stayed behind and wept. And a man in the garden called her name, Mary. Mary turned and she saw Jesus. She fell at his feet and she believed. Cleopas and his friend were the next ones to see Jesus alive. Jesus told them that his death and resurrection were all a part of God's plan to save his people. They saw Jesus in the scriptures, and as they broke bread together, and they believed in him. Later that night, when the disciples were gathered in the upper room, Jesus himself suddenly appeared among them. The disciples were frightened, but Jesus showed them his hands and feet and ate fish with them to show he was really alive. And then Jesus opened up the scriptures, God's big story, and showed his disciples that he was the king God's people had been waiting for. Well, then the disciples really saw Jesus for who he is, and they believed in him. Now there was one disciple who wasn't there the day Jesus came to visit and share a meal with the disciples. His name was Thomas. Everyone was gathered around the dinner table, still talking about how amazing it has been to see Jesus again. When Thomas walked in the door, everyone started talking at him at once. We saw Jesus. He's here, right here in this room. He is really alive. He talked with us. He sat with us. He ate with us. He helped us see that he is the Savior of the whole world, the one we've been waiting for. Jesus' death was all a part of God's big plan. But Thomas had not seen Jesus. And Thomas was still so sad that Jesus had died. He couldn't believe it. He wouldn't believe it. Thomas said to them, "You may have seen Jesus, but I haven't." The room got very quiet, and the disciples stopped celebrating. No one knew what to say. Unless I see Jesus for myself, unless I can touch his wounds and his hands and his side, I will not believe. And then Thomas left. And then Thomas left. 1 week later, the disciples were gathered again, and Thomas joined them. They hadn't seen Jesus again, and they were still feeling scared. The door was locked, and they were all together, and Thomas was there this time too. And as they were talking together, they suddenly heard a very familiar voice say, "Peace be with you." Thomas turned again, and there was Jesus. "Look, touch," said Jesus to Thomas. "Put your fingers here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." But Thomas didn't need to touch Jesus. He believed. He sank to his knees. "My Lord," he said, "my God." And then Jesus left as suddenly as he appeared. But now Thomas believed the good news too. Jesus was alive. Thomas had seen it, and now he believed.